you've got a Cane Corso, and you're wondering if you should board them.
It's a common question.
Yeah, it really is. And it's a tough one, too, especially with a breed like this. So to help us figure this out, we're diving into a Cane Corso podcast episode that I came across.
Sounds like a good plan.
Yeah, it's really interesting stuff. I mean, even before we get into boarding itself, just hearing them talk about the Cane Corso temperament, really makes you think about this whole decision differently.
Absolutely. I mean, we can't just jump into logistics without understanding the dog we're dealing with right now.
Right, exactly. So they were talking about how these dogs, they're incredibly protective,
Oh, yeah. That's a hallmark of the breed.
how strongly they bond with their families, like really strong bonds. And they use the term wary of strangers.
Yeah. And that makes you think, huh?
It does, right?
Yeah.
Because if they're wary of strangers, how are they going to handle a whole new environment?
Exactly. A new place, new people, new smells, new routines. It's a lot to throw at any dog, let alone a Cane Corso.
Yeah, it really is. They actually had this great analogy. They described Cane Corsos as big teddy bears who need their space.
Huh. I like that.
Right. It's funny, but it's so true. Like, even with all that love, they still need their boundaries.
Totally. And that's something to consider with boarding, right? Your dog might need a larger kennel than the average dog, or maybe more solo playtime just to avoid feeling crowded.
Totally makes sense. And it's not just personality. They're also incredibly energetic.
Oh, yeah, definitely high energy dogs.
And the podcast host actually used the term mental stimulation, which I think is so important.
Oh, absolutely. It's not just physical exercise. They need mental challenges, too.
Right. Like a walk around the block, that's not going to cut it for these guys.
No way. They need activities that engage their minds. Otherwise, they get bored, and that leads to trouble, like destructive behavior.
Oh, yeah, or even more anxiety, right?
Exactly. So, yeah, thinking about those energy levels is key when making this decision.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
And you know what else they said that I thought was interesting? They talked about how you need handlers who are, like, really experienced with large breeds,
Yeah, that's crucial. You can't just have anyone handling a dog like that.
right? And it kind of made me wonder, do most boarding facilities even have staff like that?
That's a good question. And honestly, it might be a deal breaker for some Cane Corso owners.
For sure. So maybe, are there, like, alternatives we should be thinking about?
The podcast brought up some really interesting options, and that's what I think we should dive into next.
Yeah, like what were they thinking about?
Well, they talked about in-home pet sitting and house sitting, which sounds pretty amazing when you think about it.
Yeah, because then your dog stays in their own environment, right?
Exactly. No stressful transitions, no unfamiliar smells or sounds, just pure comfort and their usual routine.
That's a big plus for a dog who thrives on routine and, familiarity.
Right. And that's where these platforms like Trusted House Sitters and Pawshake come in. Have you heard of them?
I have, yeah. But tell me more about how they work. I'm really curious now.
Well, you can find sitters who come to your home and provide that one-on-one care, And the cool thing is, it's all tailored to your dog's needs.
Oh, wow. So it's like having a trusted friend drop by, but with, like, extra expertise.
Pretty much. They
Yeah.
can stick to your dog's feeding schedule, play their favorite games.
They can give them all the belly rubs and attention they crave.
Yeah.
I love it.
It's a much more relaxed experience for the dog, that's for sure. And it takes a lot of stress off the owner, too, knowing your furry friend is happy and well cared for.
Okay, I am definitely intrigued. I want to hear more about this after the break. So we've got traditional boarding on one hand, in-home options on the other. What's a Cane Corso owner to do? Well, we're going to help you figure that out.
We sure are. So stick around, folks. We'll be back after a quick break to discuss the pros and cons of each option.
Stay tuned, and we'll dive deeper.
So those in-home options, right, we were saying they could be a game changer, especially for a dog like a Cane Corso.
Yeah, I mean, keeping them in their own environment, it just seems so much less stressful than uprooting them.
Absolutely. And with those platforms we mentioned, Trusted House Sitters and Pawshake,
Yeah.
you can find sitters who will actually come to your home and provide all the care your dog needs.
Okay, but how does that actually work in practice? Like, what kind of care are we talking about?
Well, it really depends on what you're looking for and what the sitter offers, Some sitters, they're more focused on the basics like feeding, walking, playtime, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But then you've got others who go above and beyond. Overnight stays, medication, even some training or behavioral support.
So you could find someone who really gets Cane Corsos and knows how to handle their specific needs.
Exactly. And that's one of the best things about these platforms. You can search for sitters based on their experience, their qualifications, even read reviews from other pet owners.
Oh, so it's like almost like a background check for your dog's caregiver.
Pretty much. It gives you a lot more peace of mind knowing who you're entrusting your furry friend to.
Okay, that makes me feel a lot better, actually. But I'm still a little, I don't know, I guess apprehensive about the whole letting a stranger into my home thing?
I get it. It's a valid concern. But
Uh,
these platforms, they take security very seriously, both trusted house sitters and Poshake.
I'll be good.
They've got strict vetting processes, background checks, identity verification. The sitter profiles have references, reviews. It's not just some random person off the street.
Okay, that is reassuring. And I guess you also get to talk to the sitters beforehand, right?
Yeah.
Ask them questions, maybe even do a meet and greet with your dog.
Exactly. It's all about finding someone you feel comfortable with, someone you trust.
And you can really, personalize it,
Yeah.
right? To fit your dog's specific needs and, well, your own comfort level, too.
Exactly. And that's a big part of why in-home options are so appealing, especially for a breed like the Cane Corso.
Right. They need that routine, that stability.
Totally. Okay, so we've talked about comfort and security. But what about the elephant in the room? The cost.
Yeah, this is going to break the bank.
Well, it can vary, to be honest.
Yep.
Depends on a few things, like where you live, how long you need the care for, the sitter's experience level.
I see.
But a lot of pet owners are actually surprised by how affordable in-home care can be, especially when you factor in the peace of mind it gives you.
Yeah, that's true. And I guess you also have to think about the potential costs of not going this route, right?
Mhm.
Like if your dog gets stressed out in a boarding facility and needs extra training or vet care after.
Exactly. Sometimes preventative care is the most cost-effective in the long run.
So it's like an investment, really.
Exactly. But okay, let's say for whatever reason, someone's tried these in-home options, they've explored them, and they're still thinking, you know what, maybe traditional boarding is the way to go for us.
Okay, sure.
So what then? What should they be looking for in a facility, especially for a Cane Corso?
Yeah, what are the non-negotiables?
Well, first and foremost, staff experience.
Yeah, that makes sense.
We've talked about how these dogs have unique needs. They can be sensitive. You need a facility where the staff really understands that and knows how to handle them, safely, responsibly.
It's like finding a teacher, right? But for your dog.
Exactly. You want someone who gets them.
Mm.
Don't be afraid to ask about their experience with large breeds, with protective dogs. How do they handle those instincts? What's their protocol for, managing different dogs, different sizes, different personalities?
That's a good point. I never thought about that.
Yeah, it's worth asking those questions, for sure. And then, of course, exercise and enrichment, right? We know these dogs need more than just a quick walk.
Yeah, they got to use their brains, too.
Absolutely. So look for a facility that offers more than just walks, Do they have play yards with agility equipment, puzzle toys, interactive feeding games?
Okay, so variety is key.
Totally. You want to keep them engaged, stimulated. It helps with stress, prevents boredom.
And prevents them from getting into trouble.
Right. Exactly. And speaking of, let's talk about safety, which is super important with a powerful breed like a Cane Corso.
Yeah, for sure. What should we be looking for there?
Okay, so secure fencing is a must-see thing. Double-gated entryways.
Okay.
Well-maintained kennels that are big enough for a large dog. And ask about their procedures for supervising interactions, both in play areas and during walks,
So no unsupervised playtime where things could get out of hand.
Exactly. Safety has to be a top priority.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
But with all this, I'm thinking boarding can get pricey. So how do we balance quality care with our budget?
That's a good question. There are ways to be budget savvy without sacrificing your dog's well-being.
Okay, tell me more.
One thing to consider is boarding during off-peak seasons, like avoiding the holidays when prices tend to be higher.
Oh, that's a good idea. I like avoiding the holiday rush for flights and hotels.
Exactly. And you can also look for facilities that offer package deals for multiple days or extended stays.
So shop around and compare prices.
Exactly. And don't underestimate the power of word of mouth. Talk to other Cane Corso owners in your area. Get their recommendations. Tap into that community knowledge.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
It's like having a network of dog experts right there. You might find some hidden gems that you wouldn't just stumble upon online.
Exactly. You're getting firsthand insights from people who've been there, done that, and they understand Cane Corsos specifically, which is key. Oh, and you know what else we should circle back to? Something we talked about earlier.
What's that?
Staff experience. Remember how we said that's super important for a Cane Corso?
Oh, yeah, for sure. But why exactly?
Well, it comes down to understanding the breed, Their behavior. A staff member who's experienced with Cane Corsos, they'll be able to recognize those subtle signs of stress or anxiety.
So it's more than just being, like, physically strong enough to handle a big dog?
Way more. It's about intuition, reading their signals, knowing how to approach them calmly, how to redirect their energy in a positive way, how to de-escalate a situation before it becomes a problem.
So they're like, what do they call those people? Dog whisperers.
Yeah, kind of. It's about understanding that a cane corso's bark is often worse than their bite, but their bite can be serious if they feel threatened.
That's a good point. We're not just talking about any dog here, right?
Right.
These are powerful animals with a history of being guardian.
Exactly. They need to be treated with respect, with understanding. And a well-trained staff member will know how to do that.
Okay, so for someone who's maybe feeling overwhelmed by all this, what would you say are the top 3 things to look for in a boarding facility for a Cane Corso?
Okay, top 3 non-negotiables. Experienced staff, ample opportunities for exercise and enrichment, and a strong commitment to safety and security. If a facility doesn't have those 3 things, it's probably not the right fit.
Okay, that's helpful. And it's not just about finding a place to house your dog, right? It's about finding a partner in their care.
Exactly. You want people who get your dog, who appreciate their unique qualities, and who are going to give them a positive experience.
Well said. Okay, we've talked about in-home care, traditional boarding, all the things to consider. But even with the best plan in place, there's probably going to be some adjustment for any dog.
Oh, absolutely. Even the most well-adjusted cane corso might experience a little stress or anxiety in a new environment. It's totally normal.
So what can we do to make that transition as smooth as possible? Like any pre-boarding prep steps?
There are definitely some things you can do to minimize stress and maximize comfort.
Yeah, I'm all ears. Okay, I'm all ears.
So, one of the most effective things is familiarization, Like before the actual stay, take your cane corso for a few short visits to the boarding facility. Or if you're going with a pet sitter, have them come over to your house a couple of times.
Oh, so like a little test run to get them used to the new place and the new people.
Exactly. It helps desensitize them to the smells, the sounds, the sights. So when it's time for the real deal, it's not such a shock to the system.
Yeah, that makes sense. And what about bringing familiar items? The podcast mentioned that too, right?
Absolutely. Packing some of their favorite things, like their bed, a blanket, some toys, can really help create a sense of comfort and security. Like a little piece of home away from home.
I was even thinking maybe tucking in one of my old t-shirts, something with my scent on it. Would that help?
That's a fantastic idea. Scent is so powerful for dogs. That familiar smell can be incredibly soothing, especially when they're missing their family.
Okay, I'm adding scent souvenirs to my pre-boarding checklist. What else can we do?
Consistency is key. Try to keep their feeding schedule, their exercise routine as close to normal as possible. Even though they're in a new place, that predictability can really help reduce stress.
So it's like, even though everything else is different, at least those things stay the same.
Exactly. It's all about minimizing disruption. And don't forget clear communication with whoever's caring for your dog, whether it's the boarding staff or the pet sitter.
Oh, yeah, good point.
Let them know about any quirks your Cane Corso has, any preferences, special needs, anything like that.
So giving them an instruction manual for your dog.
Pretty much. The more information they have, the better they can tailor the care. And speaking of tailoring care, a little positive reinforcement never hurts.
Oh, like what?
You could leave a special treat or a new chew toy with the staff or the sitter, something for them to give your dog during their stay.
Oh, that's a nice idea. Makes it feel more like a vacation and less like, I don't know, abandonment.
Exactly. It creates a positive association. And finally, and this might seem obvious, but when you drop your dog off, try to project a calm and confident energy.
Because they can sense our emotions.
Oh, absolutely. Cane Corsos are super attuned to their owners. So if you're stressed, they're going to feel stressed too.
Okay, so fake it till you make it. Act like everything's fine even if I'm internally freaking out.
Pretty much. Just reassure your dog that everything's going to be okay. A positive send-off can go a long way.
Okay, so it sounds like preparation is key for both me and my dog.
You got it. You know your dog best. Trust your instincts, do your research, and choose the option that feels right for both of you.
This has been so helpful, seriously. We've covered so much. The challenges, the alternatives, all those practical tips.
It's been great chatting with you about all this. Hopefully our listeners are feeling more informed and empowered now.
I hope so too. And remember, you're not alone in this. There's a whole community of Cane Corso owners out there. You can connect with them, share tips, get advice.
Absolutely. And if you ever need more personalized guidance, don't hesitate to reach out to a vet or a Cane Corso breed specialist. They can help you navigate any specific concerns you might have.
Okay, so as we wrap up, we want to leave you with one final thought. We've talked a lot about breed tendencies, but each dog is an individual, right? So think about your dog. What are their quirks, their preferences, their anxieties? What would make them thrive or struggle in each of these care environments?
That's such a great point. Once you have that clear picture in mind, you'll be able to make the best decision for your furry friend, and that's what it's all about, right?
Absolutely. Until next time, happy tails and safe travels to all the Cane Corsos out there.